Point of View. Hi, Connie. How are you?
Hello, hello everybody out there. Welcome to Our Point of View.
Hey, Derek.
Hello, welcome to our point of view.
Hey, welcome to Our Point of View, guys. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we wanted to dedicate this show to our loved ones who have experienced any type of cancer by being a survivor, a caregiver, or a loved one that we have lost. So we want to welcome you to Our Point of View. First, we would like to introduce our first guest, and his name is Dr. Dan Anthony Sims. He's going to tell us a little bit about the type of cancer that he experienced. Dan,
Hey, how's it going?
how are you?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Talk to us a little bit about the type of cancer that you experienced.
Yeah, so I'm a 22-year cancer survivor.
Wow, that's awesome.
I had testicular cancer, diagnosed in 1998 at the tender age of 27 years old.
Wow. Wonderful.
So what were you experiencing that made you have to go to the doctor to find out what was going on?
Yeah, great question. If I could just quickly pause and just give honor to all of our breast cancer survivors. I'm so grateful for the women, the sheroes who have just battled. And while breast cancer is not unique to women, we know the majority of it has been from women. So just honored to be on this stage at this time. So
Right.
as to your question, I honestly did what most men do, and that was to ignore those signs. It was in the month of August of 1998 that something told me something was wrong. But out of the fear of what I might hear, I decided not to go to the doctor.
Right.
I didn't go for 2 months later. And it was at that time, I experienced a level of discomfort. There was no pain, but there was discomfort. And I knew something wasn't right. And it was in October that I went to the doctor. And that is when I was told about the possibility of having cancer.
Mm.
So no pain, just really need to just listen to God and listen to your body to be able to know that you need to do something to sustain yourself. And I just thank God I was able to listen.
Right. So how long was?
So at
Go ahead, Connie.
so at the you were very very young at 27, right? So at 27 you were married, you
Yes.
had your children, right?
Well, so I was married, and we were into year 2 of trying to conceive children, not knowing that something was in the way. So you're talking about a level of frustration, a wedge in our marriage at the time, really not understanding, being young and dumb. So just dealing with all of that, and on top of this struggle to try to have children, here comes cancer to throw a wrench in the whole deal. So that was difficult. If I can
Wow.
fast forward, doctors told us after my remission and after we got everything going in the right direction that we had a 0 to 20% chance of having kids naturally with a lean blood pressure
Wow.
zero.
Oh,
Y'all seen Jordan, who's 17, and Camille,
Yes.
18, Lauren,
Yeah.
and God is great. So he had different plans.
Well,
Yeah.
always do.
how did your wife handle this in the beginning? Was she frustrated? Or
Yeah, so that's my wire. That's my ride or die. So, she was like, "Why?" I remember vividly. A pivotal time in that was when we were headed home. This was after my official diagnosis, after the surgery, and they told me, "Yep, you do have cancer." She cried profusely and told me after the fact that many times that she just found herself in the corner crying and just trying to maintain in front of me a level of strength that she knew I needed to be around me. But she struggled and she was frustrated and she didn't understand why this was going on at such a young age and didn't know what the future held. And to know that these kind of things can lead to death, being married only 2 years and now here's your two year husband going through something that could be potentially deadly, and I actually got sicker during that time frame. So it was a very difficult time, but I don't know where I would have been or where I would be without her as my primary caregiver during that time frame. She was a real rock star the whole time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Awesome. Shout out Tracy
Shout out.
Sims.
Tracy.
Yes.
Yeah,
God
Tracy.
bless you.
Blessing.
Hey,
Yeah.
Dan,
Yeah.
I definitely don't want us to gloss over a main point that you highlight. We as African American men to choose to ignore. And sometimes, even if you know the symptoms, you don't go to the doctor as often as we should. Could you share with our audience, though, in particular Black men, how important it is to get your annual physical? And not be afraid in this day and age where a lot of information is readily available at your fingertips through your smart device. Can you just, highlight the importance? Because early detection is the best case, right? We know God is ultimately in charge, but if you can get early detection, and typically that is discovered at your annual physical. Can you share with our audience, in particular our Black men, how important it is to get your annual physical?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, God made these intricately designed bodies of ours, but we literally have no clue as to what our bodies look like on the inside. We will never know what it looks like. And for us to think that we can down potato chips and fruit and water and steak and ribs and chitlins and whatever else we eat every single day into a space, and we don't know what's happening with whatever we're taking in, and then there's no checkup on that. It's borderline insane to think so. So this idea of a physical, getting your blood work checked, getting your cholesterol levels checked, getting your blood pressure checked, getting your heart checked, just all of the pieces of this body you don't know what's happening with from a professional. It just makes sense. I mean, it's crazy how we'll take our car and get an oil change every 3,000 miles or 5,000 with a synthetic change. We'll rotate our tires. We'll even change clothes from day to day, but we won't check our bodies once a year. So it's that backdrop that I speak from, that it is critical to do so. Brother Jackson, I know you can think of people in their 40s and even younger. You've heard of people having heart attacks and strokes and different kind of conditions. And all of us are just like, man, nobody knew. And the truth of the matter might be nobody knew because you didn't take the time so that somebody can tell you. But the issue I want people to really hone in on is what I said in the beginning. I was fearful of what I might hear. Now, how stupid is that? I didn't want to hear that something was wrong. So that translates, or I'd rather for something to be wrong and just die and have everybody be like this up in the air versus getting the information, crying like a baby, hashing it out, and then letting God line up professionals in the medical field to take care of me how they did. So unless we have a death wish, physicals are so critical for everybody, especially our Black men who have a mortality rate that's lower than that of women.
Okay, so Dan, you have a teenage son who is actually a young man now. Do you make sure he go to the doctor? Do you take him to your doctor?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he gets physicals. Thankfully, he's involved in sports, so that necessitates the physicals. When things are wrong, we make sure we go to the doctor. We try our best to promote that good health. Hard to keep those Skittles and Funyuns and all this stuff out of his room, but we make sure he gets to the doctor. And I remind him too, you are in a family where diabetes, cancer, strokes, all those things, they run in the family. So there's a gene pool and there's a hereditary line that we have to pay attention to. And the earlier we do it, the better off we're going to be.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Anybody else have any questions for Dan? No? Okay, then what we're gonna do, thank you so much, Dan, for sharing that with us. We really appreciate it. That was awesome. Yeah. Next, we're gonna go to our caregiver, Miss Iona Jenkins Ingram. Iona?
You hear me? Okay.
Hey, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were a caregiver, correct?
Yes, for 35 years.
35.
Wow.
About that. For 35 years, that had to be a lot of stress, not stress, but yeah, stress that you're taking in, taking care of people. If you're not a doctor or a nurse or working in a hospital. So tell us
No,
a bit
I
about.
did private duty, and I had several members in my family that were cancer and are cancer survivors. So I've had a wide spectrum in my caregiving field with my family as well as my patients.
So tell us a little bit how it was with your family, with like,
Well,
with
both my
siblings.
parents, my father had colon cancer, and my mother was a breast cancer. My sister, she's 11 times survivor right now of cancer. Right now, she has cancer all through her body, but just trying to keep her spirits up and not let her get depressed, and let her know that she does have someone there for her that's there to help her, and just not try to be a downer to her or anyone that suffers with with cancer. It's hard, and it's hard on the family members, but I try to encourage the family members to encourage the person that's going through the cancer, to just enlighten them. Don't go and sit around and feel sorry for them. Just let them know God is in control of everything, and it's life that you're going to live, and you're going to make it through, and God has the final word. The doctor's only there to do what they have the knowledge, what they have gotten the knowledge to do.
Right,
But in the final interim of it all, it's God
right,
that has the final say, and don't just sit and be a Debbie Downer.
right. Okay, with you being a caregiver, did you yourself have a support system?
I was more of the support system to the families, because a lot of the family members, they, when you hear the cancer, they automatically just think it's a death wish. It's not a death wish, but a death sentence, I should say. And so I didn't have so much, I could say, a support system for me as I was for them.
Okay. Now, how important do you think that
Be,
to have a support system?
It's very important for the families to have support systems. And that's why I encourage my own family, especially when my sister's concerned. I encourage her children. You have to be there with her, for her. Just be a shoulder for her to lean on whenever she needs to lean on you. Don't just sit back and
Yeah.
uh,
I know it's
and I
kind of
wanted
hard.
to say something to Miss Jenkins. Also, and I think that a lot of people fail to realize that the caregiver needs care. The caregiver needs prayer. The caregiver needs encouragement, because it gets difficult for an individual to care for someone, because you're almost carrying the load of the
and,
person you're
and
caring
that's
for, and
true.
you're trying to, yeah,
That's
you're trying
true.
to
It's
take it
100%
on. And
correct.
so it gets heavy on the caregiver.
Mhm.
And sometimes, so if an auntie or a cousin or a sister can come by and say, hey, Iona, I'm going to take care of this, I'm going to take care of Sissy for the next 2 hours. You go get you some coffee. You go take a woosah moment. I think that people need to understand, for those
That's
of our
much needed.
viewers and
That's
our
very much
listeners,
needed, but that's not
that is
always the
very
scenario, but it is very much needed. You are correct in that.
right. And I just wanted to celebrate you, because I know even in my own family, my dad, his wife was his caregiver for many, many years, and my niece was the caregiver for my sister for many, many years, while she was going through that process. So we have to celebrate those people as well, who literally, took care of those people. So we celebrate you today for just, did you say 30 something years you've been a caregiver?
Yes, ma'am. 35.
That's a heart. You have to have almost the heart of God to be able to care for someone in that magnitude, because it's almost like you almost put yourself to the side to help the individual to make it through their process. So we thank you, and we thank you for being here and sharing your story as well.
Thank you.
Well,
Appreciate it.
the minute you said caregiver, I lit up, and that's why you saw me clap. I recognize how important personally a caregiver is. So
Yes,
I
Lord.
hand it off to you, Ms. Jenkins, for all those years. I know what you did. I
Thank
know.
Yeah.
you.
And the
Appreciate
majority of the time, Ms. Jenkins was with for your family. for people that
Excuse
you,
me?
the majority of the time that you were a caregiver was for your family?
No, my family and my clients. I did
Okay.
private duty, so I had quite a few clients that had cancer, and I had to minister as well to their family as being a help to them. I had to also be a help to their family. And a lot of times, especially when it's outside of the family, you don't have that support system. Like they were saying, that someone to come in and give you 5 minutes of time, or just say to you, go take a minute to yourself. You don't find that a lot. I come from a very large family. So of course, when my family was involved, I did have a lot of support.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. We really appreciate it. I just want to mention too, we are on Facebook Live. So if you're out there and you have questions for our panel, please feel free to put the message in and we'll get it and we'll read it for you. Okay. So next we want to go to our next guest, Miss Robin Johnson. Hi, Robin.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Robin.
So tell us a little bit about your story, about what you went through.
Okay, so with my cancer, which I'm represented today in the teal because for the ovarian and cervical cancer, the color is teal. Our ribbons are teal, not the pink. As I say to my sister, I said, people always focus on the breast cancer, but all cancers are important. All cancers have the same effect. We lose loved ones from them. You know, you have to have somebody there to take care of you, no matter how strong you think you can be. It breaks you all the way down. I will say that when I found it, I go for my yearly checkup every year, yearly. This checkup into my last checkup in 2016, my doctor had decided, said, you know, she had felt something strange that I needed to go to a specialist. So when I went to the specialist, she again did a biopsy. They took the test and it came back. So they referred me over to the oncology gynecologist. Had my surgery where they had to do like you know, just remove everything immediately. After I went back for I think it's a 3-month check after you have the surgery, they still found that there was cancerous organs. So that's when I had to begin my radiology and chemo. The both of those together was a lot. It was a lot for me. I lost a lot of weight. My symptoms, I can say at the beginning, let me go back to my symptoms. I really didn't know if I had symptoms or not, because, you know, as women, as we're getting older, you know, our bodies begin to change. So you just think your body's changing. Here I'm trying to, you know, rush time along. And when the doctor said that to me, it was just a shock. I don't know if I didn't want to believe it or I didn't believe it. Or like, you know, even with, you know, what Mr. Sims said that, you know, there's something that you just don't want to hear because you think you're well, you think you're physically intact, you try to eat right, you try to do things right. But cancer doesn't, you know, doesn't have no special person that they go after. It is, you know, they come after, you know, it happens. I can say that for me, I'm very thankful for family and my endeavors. My daughter was amazing. She left her job, so we were struggling, but she was there. My sister, you know, my sister and other people, hey, I don't even, I'm still new for me because this is my 2nd year in. Has been cancer free for 2 years, so it's still new for me. So it's still very sensitive part of, you know. So just bear with me for a second. I'm sorry. Still a little sensitive in my heart with all the people that took care of me and made sure that I was okay. I had my brother come in from out of town, which was a total shock for me. I know I looked horrible when they all came in, but nobody ever made me feel like I knew I looked. My cousin came in, my sister was there. I had friends that were there. Everybody was just trying to make me just be happy. You know, I kept looking in the mirror and I kept seeing myself. I was like, oh my God, you know, my look started changing. I started getting all small and I just wasn't feeling it. I just didn't have no understanding why I had to be the one to go through it. You know, I have to be honest that I did question God, like, God, no, why me? You know, I try to eat right, I try to be right, I try to be physical, but again, you know, it's not something that you put an invitation to, it just comes. But again, after 2 years of being cancer free, all is well now. I still try to eat right. I try to take care, you know, try to do anything that I can to be preventive. I encourage people to love those that love you because you don't know what tomorrow may bring. No one ever knows what tomorrow's going to bring. So you have to just, you know, love on your family, love on your friends. I don't know. Any questions for me? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to it's hard to go through it, and then it's hard to see people, that you love you. They try to be strong, and you try to be strong. And I know myself, I'm one that don't think I need anybody for anything. I always try to do it myself, but this time I found myself needing people, and it was hard. And I appreciate everybody. I love my sister, everybody, my mother, everybody that prayed for me. It was just, it's just everybody came together, just made me feel better about what I was going through. It really did. Family and friends make a whole lot of difference in that I don't know,
So
the
do you
endeavor.
So, Robin, do you think that you started actually getting depressed behind it?
I would say I was. I mean, because you don't know from day to day what's going to happen. There was days I could barely make it out of the shower. Like I just had some really, really rough days, and times I couldn't move out of bed. It was rough. So you don't know what's going to happen, but you don't know. You don't know. I know I can say that I trusted God. I didn't believe He brought me to this, that He would like leave me here. I had family and friends that prayed with me. People that kind of try to keep my spirits up, and you know, just had events. Even though I may have sit in the corner and didn't want to be a part of it, but just being in a room where different things were going on really helped me and encourage. Just made me want to just keep moving forward.
Well, Connie, let me ask you, being that you're her sister, how did you motivate her and help her get out of the little funk that she was in?
I really tried to be a support. Like, what can I do? What do you need? Just being there for whatever it was she needed. If I just needed to just sit there with her, and for me, okay, I'm not gonna start crying, but my sister and I are 1 year apart, so we're actually 13 months apart to the day. And my sister has always been the strong one. Like, I never had a fight. She beat everybody up. I never ever had any bad experiences because my sister was that sister. Yep. Like, you cannot, you know what I mean? So when this happened to her, it was like, what can I do? Because she was always the strong one. She was always the one that say, this is what we're going to do. And I followed that. So now in turn, I had to try to figure out how can I help her. To see her in that place was very difficult for me. I remember just going home and crying and fasting and telling my husband, I can't believe God would let this happen to my sister, because she's that almost like that perfect sister. Yeah. I never needed everything, never wanted whatever I needed. She helped me with all of my children. I had 5 children. She literally helped me raise me and my husband raised all the children. My husband and I traveled, my sister took care of them. So she was that sister, So when you see somebody who has been everything, like she said, strong, prideful, she don't care, it's getting done. This thing attacked, it came like out of the wind. We was like, what? You know what I mean? Because like she said, there was no sister. She did not get sick. She wasn't vomiting all over the place. We weren't out and she would just start feeling bad. She was vibrant. The only way we really knew was when she started losing the weight. I think, right, Nerve? That was like the determining factor. Like, we was like, okay,
I
she's
that
losing all
that was
this
the
weight.
thing of it. I thought I was doing something. I was like, I don't know how this weight coming off, but dang, I got my sexy back for a little while there. And then I found out, what was causing my weight loss, no appetite and those things. Again, I'm thinking this. I was happy. I ain't gonna tell you, I lost about 15 pounds so quick, and that shape came back. I thought I was a teenager all over again. But again, our bodies do have, I guess our bodies do show signs. I probably should have checked to see, because it wasn't like I was doing anything to try to lose weight. I just thought that the weight was beginning to come off, maybe moving around a little bit more, exercise. I wasn't sure. But again, I think the most important thing is for women is that to get those yearly checkups. They mean everything in the world. Who would think from 1 year that I would have a good checkup to within that next year, I had the cancer had showed up, and it came so rapidly that they had to do a radical hysterectomy. It wasn't like, they could just do it. They had to do it radically, where they removed everything. So, again, I just was trying to question God, like, and I promise you, when I was going through my sickest times, I kept saying, why? Like, the Lord, I know this, I don't know why you're putting this on me. I'm supposed to be the strong one. What am I, what everybody else gonna do? I'm still worried about what everybody else gonna do if I ain't there to support them. But that's when the tables turned and everybody was there for me.
Yeah, I remember when I talked to Connie about it. Connie just broke down. We just, broke down and cried. But it was like, I was the big sister then. Well, I'm actually still older than her, but she's always big sister, but I was the big sister. I stepped in. I'm like, we're not going to do this. You need to go ahead and cry, get it out your system, but she's going to be fine. God's going to take care of it. You have to have your support system. You have to go ahead and get it out, get your tears out. You have to get that out. You can't hold it in, but then you have to become a support system as well. And I remember that. That was like really emotional. But we're so happy that you're here with us.
Yes.
2 years clean. Yay.
I'm a
Yeah.
survivor.
Hallelujah.
I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna try hard. I am a survivor.
Right.
I know I can't sing, y'all, but I had to get that out. That be in my spirit
That's
sometimes.
the theme song. That's the theme song. Yeah.
Amen.
Eric, did you have any questions?
No, I did not, but it is encouraging when you hear these stories, especially when you know that cancer and all form of cancer, going back to Dan's point, all form of cancer are, has the potential of being deadly.
Right.
And although the survivorship for breast cancers, it continues to increase. Now we have 3 million breast cancer survivors out there, and certain cancers are still deadly, depending on what organs are attacked. But as a as a caretaker myself, when my wife was going through it twice, the first time when she went through breast cancer on 2014, it was, detected during a normal mammogram. And for African American women, I strongly encourage, when you get your mammogram annually, don't do the 2D, do the 3D, because the density for Black women breasts are far denser.
Yes.
The 3D mammograms will give you a better picture, if you will, of what they're looking for, what they're looking at. And so, because my wife had the 2D and thought the mammogram was great, but she felt a lump. 6 months later, we learned it was cancerous, right? That mammogram, if it was a 3D, would have picked up that. And the reason why that's important, because as all the examples, time is of the essence, right? God has the ultimate say, but God has also allowed for man to have remedies to improve quality of life as we go along. We do more research, we understand more, and we see more cases. Not all case and not all scenarios are the same, but when you look at 1 out of 8 women will have breast cancer. And as a father of 3 daughters, and my wife ended up dying after the second time, the cancer came back 4.5 years later. And so you have to, as it was already mentioned, listen to your body. There are going to be some symptoms, even when you have anxiety, because once you are breast cancer or any kind of cancer survivor, they always say you have to get your checkup like 6 months, every 6 months,
Right.
just to make sure it's still in remission. Um, but you have to do that, and it creates anxiety. You have to have coping skills. You have to have support system. All these things are important, but in the end, um, as I told my wife at the time, because she did not want nobody to know. So as her husband, that was even more challenging, that you're helping her get through it, and I had to honor her wish at the same time. And so by the time the second time when it came back, that's when we informed her parents, we informed our daughters, and and this is when decisions are starting to be made. So not all scenarios are created equal. Everybody's body is different, is unique. That's just the way God designed it. But because I am optimistic that eventually it is my prayer that all forms of cancer will be eradicated.
Amen.
Something else may pop up, like a virus, like the coronavirus may. But in terms of cancer, because I've seen what chemo does to the body, it kills bad cells and good cells. I've seen what radiation will do to the body, right? And so it is just hard for both the individual that's going through it and those who are the caretakers to watch their loved ones to go through this process. But I am optimistic that eventually, prayerfully before Jesus Christ returns, that we will find a cure that deals with all forms of cancer.
Derek, let me ask you
Thank you
this.
so much. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Go
thank you
ahead,
for.
Jack.
Let me ask you this. Being that your wife did not want you to share this with anybody in the beginning, what type of support did you have? Because you were holding all this in because you
Right.
were trying to her wishes. How did that affect you?
Yeah, no, it's challenging. To be completely transparent, I started reading my Bible more than I ever had. I started working out. I tried to when I got her into bed and got her comfortable and give her meds, then um, I would preoccupy the girls, just encouraging them, say, "Hey, mom's going to get through this." Um, I just did not tell them how grave the situation was at the time. And our oldest daughter is at Meharry Medical College right now. So I think she started seeing the symptoms and she knew. She was like, "Okay, Dad, something's not right." I'm in Meharry Medical College. I know what the anatomy looks like, and so I eventually told her, and so I slowly but surely started telling my girls, and that became my outlet. Um, but in terms of my wife's sorority sisters and Jack and Jill and other organizations that we are affiliated with, um, they didn't know until um, we informed everybody that she was going into hospice.
Wow.
I want to say something
Yeah,
to that because that's very true. And it's not that she was being selfish. It's just I guess sometimes you feel like it's a private moment. 'Cause I didn't
right.
want to talk to nobody. I didn't want my sister to tell nobody. I didn't want nobody to call. I wasn't answering my phone. It's a lot of stuff that you go through as the individual. And I know sometimes if you tell more people, you got more people to pray or whatever the situation may be. But I understand when you said that, she didn't want you to say nothing. And that's just how it's not, I guess you want to feel like it's private or something, but you don't want everybody, "Oh, you okay?" And you don't want to hear them calls and, I'm fine. We're going to get through this. You just want to hear encouraging words and words of strength. And for her, and she probably knew, she probably had that feeling because it's a feeling that you have, and you just try to get through that. It is a very difficult time for when someone going through that.
If I could offer up a perspective too, I think it's Representative Jackson. You said that all cancers are created equal. I think that's so important, and it's interesting. My dynamic was, I went so quickly into Thanksgiving mode and praise mode. And I remember literally saying, "Thank you, God, for using me as this vessel for this season and for this reason." And He put me in a space where I just knew that He was about to use my life as a testimony for whoever it was. So while I wasn't, I ain't had no banner saying I have cancer. It wasn't like that, but I remember vividly just still being optimistic. And there was a scripture that I held so closely to. It was Proverbs 18:14. And it says, "The spirit of a man sustains his infirmities, but a wounded spirit who can bear?" It was so
Mm.
important for me to keep my spirit up and to keep other people's spirit up. And I'll never forget this 100-year-old lady walked up to me and said, "The way you're acting is blessing me." So it's amazing how God will use you. And I even think about Hebrews 11, where they talk about all these faith examples, and there are faith examples of people who overcame on earth, and there are faith examples of people who suffered on earth, but the common denominator was their faith.
That's right.
And I do want to acknowledge the cure for cancer that is undefeated is heaven. So I'm always just reminded of how important it is that God, even in good times and bad times, intends to utilize all of us as a vessel. And I know everybody on here has been a vessel for your time and for your season, for everybody who saw you in whatever way. And I think there are private ways to do that. There are very public ways to do that. But as long as God gets his glory, that's what all that matters. So I just wanted to provide that perspective. Mine was a little bit different as it relates to how I communicated to people.
And you're exactly right. And you find yourself, to your point, that your spiritual walk grows too, right? I found myself praying for my wife more. I found myself being um, uh, an encourager. I found myself, making sure that whatever God's will, um, that I was going to be okay, right? And you have to, as the care, giver, you have to make sure that you keep yourself healthy for those who you're taking care of, but also in this case, we had three daughters, and so my wife wanted to make sure that in the end that I have to make, remain healthy, stay focused, stay grounded, and because her thought was we our children should not lose two parents in this process because
Mm.
stress kills.
Yeah.
Stress can create ulcers. Stress can do a lot of things to the body. So she did not want me to find myself so stressed while taking care of her um, during those many, many months that our three children would have been left with no parents. So it's a delicate
Wow.
balance. Um, and you're right. You find yourself asking yourself the question to God, why us? Why now? And then as I read a scripture, I was reading in Job, and God selected Job. And that's why I always tell folks who know me, um, my story is just like Job. And if you understand Job, the way Job started and the way Job finished, it just quickly demonstrated how God can take you from pain to his promise. And so I always encourage everyone that this is a season, but allow for your faith, your hope, understand God's love and his promise to endure everything.
Thank you so much for sharing, Derek. I mean, that story, wow, I had no idea. And for those of you who don't know, Representative Jackson is a part of the Our Point of View family. He is now one of our hosts as well. So we are just really getting to know him, but I did not know your story, but I also celebrate you as well for just the determination that you obviously had to continue on with life and raising your three daughters. I mean, that is just awesome and to be celebrated as well. So we thank you, and we thank you for sharing your story with us as well. I want to say before we go to our next guest that if you all have Facebook, please be sure and share this live on your Facebook page. People can always go back and check out the replay, or you can simply share it now. It took me forever to share it on mine, but my husband finally came down here and was able to share it somehow. And so I just was able to share. But if you can do that, please feel free to share this on your Facebook Live. You can go to the Our Point of View talk show and click share, and you should be able to freely share it. Finally, for our final guest, we are going to bring forth one who is very dear and very special to me. She is my spiritual daughter. I've known her, I guess, I don't know, 20 plus years now. And just recently, she has had her own personal battle with breast cancer. She is a survivor. She's a mom, single mom of a wonderful young man. And I'm going to let her share her story with you. And that is in the person of Miss Sheila Epps Williams. You can now speak. Thank you for joining us, Sheila.
Sheila.
Thank you so much for having me. I was having some technical difficulties, but I just wanted to say that I am excited for you guys to invite me to a platform like this. Originally, when I went to the doctor, as usual, I would go have my mammograms. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. I'm always laughing, I'm always smiling, I'm always singing. And I went to have a mammogram, and so I noticed that it was taking them quite some time to get back to the room. I'd already had the mammogram, but my sister um had my son, so I was a little concerned about that because she's like, my sister and I, we're very, very close. However, I was like Representative Jackson, he said to make sure that you get a 3D. I had already had a regular mammogram and everything was fine. And then I started having a discharge in my breast and I started feeling different. And I was wondering, what's going on, but I never, ever could imagine that. And the young lady that did the 3D exam, she came in, what's going on, but I never, ever could imagine that. And the young lady that did the 3D exam, she came in. So my girlfriend told me, she said, make sure you have a 3D exam. Go get a 3D exam. And when I got the 3D exam, the doctor came in. And when the doctor came in, I knew that there was something wrong. And when he said, I have to refer you to someone else, I just started praying and saying, Lord. And I didn't ask why me, because I know that I'm a living testimony for a lot of people because I touch a lot of lives. But I was just a little puzzled, you know. And at that time, my son was 3.5 years old. So you're talking about a single mother, 3.5-year-old, just to carry the house on. But I have a very family. My sister she's almost like she had my son. So I was not worried about that. I have a niece who I helped raise. And when I tell you that she came here, once she found out, I called, I told a few, I told her before. And when I told her mom, she came rushing over here, Auntie, are you okay? Are you okay? I said, Trayana, I'm fine. She said, okay. And she just said, I'm gonna stay with you. She was 14.
Wow.
Stopped everything that she was doing. She was out with her friends eating, they were shopping and everything. She said, I have to go. That's my mother. She raised me, and I have to go give back to her what she's given to me for my whole life.
Beautiful.
And when she came to the door, I just started crying and I was just overwhelmed. But the respect of it, because I'm in ministry, I'm a worship leader. I'm constantly telling people, give God praise. No matter what you're going through, give God praise. He's an awesome God. He's sovereign. He does not change. And I still feel the same way. But when you have your own personal testimony, your own experience that you've been through. And when I was at the doctor, I was by myself. So there was no one to turn to. I called my sister and I told her, and she was like, oh, you're going to be all right. Understand what I just said? She was like, yeah, but you're going to be all right because you should. That's what you do. You're going to be all right. So I said, okay, I got to pull myself together. I told my boy, she's like a second mother to me. Immediately, I called Eliana because that's my spiritual mother. Anytime I'm in trouble, anytime my mind is not at ease, I'm always calling her like, Mom, you have to pray. And when I called her, I didn't even know Aunt Robin was going through that. I had no idea. And she just started to intercede and people started to intercede. And my testimony is so great that God just directed the whole thing. When I look back over it, he directed it to a T. I went into the next doctor's office and she put the mammogram up on the screen so that I could see, and I could see where the cancer was. And then when I saw it, I said, Father, in the name of Jesus, we bind everything that's not like you. We ask that you would take it away. If you don't take it away, God, I ask that you would fix it. And when I left out of her office, she said, there are some cards you can pick, choose, and refuse, whichever one. I picked 4 cards, and the Lord said, this is the card. I walked into the man's office, and when I went to his office, he said, Sheila, I don't even accept your insurance, but there is something about you that compels me to do your surgery. There is something about you that I need. And I was like, wow. He said, you are special. There is something special about you. I have to do this surgery. He actually let me cry in his office. He gave me a hug. Then I found out he was best friends with the person that delivered my son. And after I found that out, then he walked me to his secretary. He said, listen, Sheila Epps Williams, no bill. He took me to the front desk. Sheila Epps Williams,
Amen.
no bill. It's
Wow.
charged
Wow.
for nothing.
Amen.
She charged for nothing. This is my duty to serve her. There is something that is special about her. He said, I can't put my hand on it, but I know that there's something special that I have to do this surgery for you. He's one
Wow.
of the top people in the state of New Jersey that does this. And I was just amazed at God, how he put me in great hands. And the lady who the second visit that I had, she was just so very warm and caring and rubbing my arm and saying, I know, and it's gonna be all right. Then after that, my family kicked in, my spiritual mother came, I laid in the bed. Once I saw her, I knew everything was gonna be all right. She took care of my son, they went to the store. I was just, the support was just so great. And I only can say that I'm still here.
Amen.
It's by the grace of God.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's right.
Amen.
And it's by the
Amen.
grace of God. And God's got a lot of work for me to do.
Grace of God. Amen.
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 Awesome. That is awesome. Well, earlier, State Representative Jackson and I, we had a discussion, and he had said that there was one question he had that he would ask. Derek, you want to ask that question? Or you want me to ask it?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jackie.
Okay. The question was, if you had to do this all over again and go through this all over again, what one thing would you change? What would you change about it?
Not getting it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It was either, I mean, because it was I mean, just even not having the sickness, but I think in the recovery process of going through the chemo and radiation, that was very, very hard. I think that was the hardest part. It really breaks your body down. For somebody to think they were physically intact, that really broke me all the way down. So I wouldn't wish that on anyone, to have to go through both of those together. I know have people that have taken just the chemo part of it and didn't get that same effect as having the radiation and chemo together, but both of those really are very difficult. I mean, the only thing I can think of is not to have it at all. Like Representative Jackson said, you got to have a cure. They got to come up with something. Got to fix that before it gets too far. It's going on way too far now.
Yeah. I would say I would change my journaling. I would have journaled and I would have taken pictures. I hated how I looked. So anytime there was a camera around, I would go somewhere else. But I would have taken pictures in the surgery room, in the hospital. I would have taken pictures of me taking 10.5 pills every day when I contracted tuberculosis. I would have taken pictures of my body at 150 pounds. I'm a sexy 205 right now. I was 100, I was 150 pounds.
Okay.
I would have taken pictures to show almost like those memorial stones when the people crossed over Jordan and they said, "What you think?
Yeah.
What mean these stones?" It's that remembrance. So I would have had that piece of remembrance that I can show people so they can look at what I was and what I am, and for me to give God the glory and you for to see it for yourself.
Amen.
Wow.
That's what I would have changed. I wouldn't have changed anything about the experience because I often ask myself the question, would I be the man I am right now, minus those experiences? And I don't know if I want to abandon who God made me as a result of that, if I had to change anything.
Right. Right. What about you, Miss Sheila?
I think for me, the thing that I would probably change is I forgot to mention that my girlfriend, I'm over the moms group at my job. So I had her to come in. I was like, "Oh, Angelina, she's a breast cancer survivor. She loves this. She goes hard for it. Let me have her come in." She came in and she did a workshop and she was like, "Everybody in here needs to have a mammogram." There was a room full of, we have like 210 children. So I had like a room full of women, like maybe like 90 women. And so I'm running around cooking eggs, grits, and that kind of stuff. And she was like, "Did you have your mammogram?" And I was like, "No, but I'm gonna set it up." She was like, "Okay, you better make sure you set it up." And she just stayed on me about it. She was just like, "You need to go, you need to go." And I never in my wildest dreams would I ever imagine that I would get to the doctor's office and they would tell me that you have breast cancer and we have to, do what we have to do. And it was just amazing and how I put a function together to help other people, but in turn, it turned out to help me. In turn,
Yeah.
it turned out to help others. And even through the experience, I now found out that she still battles with some cancer. And now she goes to my doctor. She tried to refer me to her doctor, but I told her that my doctor was the best doctor.
Your
Go to
doctor's
Dr. Superman. And when she went to him, he saved her life. She said, "Sheila, I don't know what I would have done without him. He saved my
Mm.
life," because they were butchering her up. And he just started crying. He said, "Sheila, thank you so much. It's my duty to do anything that you need me to do. But if I had anything to change, I wouldn't change it. My baby was happy. I was happy. I was in a good place. I have great support. My nephew drove from down South Jersey, came and cooked for me. And, it was just, and my pastor, I just had an amazing, but I would do like he said, I would have taken more pictures, like in the room. Didn't lose weight. I didn't have to go through chemo. And that was one of the greatest things, because I thought I might have to do chemo, but they had gotten everything. And it was just amazing what God can do. It was just amazing. So if I had to change anything, it would just be that I would just have done my mammogram sooner and did a 3D instead of 2D.
Okay. And Miss
See, the
Jean,
reason,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, the reason why that question is so important though, when you think about everyone's story, um, and when me and Jacqueline were talking about this the other day, and I told her I was comfortable, right? Now, 17 months ago, probably it would be a different story, right? But here I am 17 months later. And the reason why that question is so important is because when someone else that you encounter that is going to come up to you and talk about cancer, you need to then instill in them what we're talking about right now, right? Because it's going to be very, very important. The lessons that we're talking about right now, it's important for you when that time comes. If someone ever says, brother Sims, I have cancer, right? Think about this question because it's so important. I realize because my season of being Job in Jeremiah 29:11. See,
Yes.
God has a plan. And the man that I am today was God's plan. His plan is always perfect. I will not question his plan. And so that question that I share with Jacqueline is important for all of us when we encounter someone, and it may not be cancer, it could be they just lost their job, or it could be something else that's traumatic, right? It doesn't have to be cancer, but that question should be on the forefront of your mind. This is just my humble opinion. It should be on the forefront of your mind so that way you can be a good cheer, a good encourager, as the Bible asks for us to do. Be a good cheer and be a good encourager because we understand what it's like when we're in that season of pain, and we already know through our testimony God's promise.
Man.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Right. Miss Jenkins, what about you? What would you have done different as a caregiver?
I can't honestly say I would have done anything any differently. I'm so glad that God just put it in my heart and put it in my spirit to place me in the people's lives that I was placed in at the time I was placed in, to be a minister to them. And I just thank him every day for what he has allowed me to do for others. And I wouldn't have changed anything of my life. Not anything.
Amen.
Mm-mm.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Um, Derek, do you want to give us some final thoughts?
Well, listen, our point of view um, is a show that brings and discusses relevant topics that touches everyone. And I would like to suggest that we send this and send this to our friends, send the link because this pandemic in 2020, I can guarantee you the 7 billion people in this world, if you ask them about their New Year's resolution, Jacqueline, and where they are now, it's going to be two different stories, right? And so we have to be our faith walkers. We have to uh, let the light that's within us be a beacon because this pandemic this clearly shows us how fragile life is and how important it is for us to take time out for one, ourselves, but two, to spend more quality time with our loved ones. When we were shelter in place, it just reminded me, as the father of 3 daughters and a grandson, we have to take time out for ourselves and our loved ones because in the end, we don't know the day or the hour the good Lord is going to call us home. And so we just got to continue to do shows like this and share our point of view with others, including sensitive topics like this, because it can become a testimony for someone else.
Right. I totally agree. And I totally agree. And Lord's willing, that is our plan. That is our plan. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. You know, we learned so much. We heard just amazing testimonies. And, you know, if this doesn't make you want to go and have a mammogram done or just have, you know, your physical done every year and all, I mean, I don't know what's going to make you do it. I mean, you should want to love yourself. Love yourself, you know. And I want to thank you guys, thank our panelists for being here, Dr. Dan Anthony Sims, Miss Iona Jenkins Ingram, Miss Sheila Epps Williams, and Miss Robin Johnson. Thank you guys so much for sharing. We really appreciate you. And
Thank you.
you guys
Thank you so much.
are amazing.
And I
Thank
wanted
you.
to say to each of you my thanks as well, and to Representative Jackson, who is a part of the Our Point of View family. Thank you for sharing your story with us. For those of you who might be watching us on the replay, please don't forget to go and check us out on our YouTube page, Our Point of View. You must say, type in Our Point of View Talk Show, because there are several, when you put in YouTube, Our Point of View, several different talk shows will come up. But if you put in Our Point of View Talk Show, that would be the talk show you want to tune into. So please, we need your support. We thank you all for being guests, and hopefully sometime in the future, you will come back and be a guest on another show. And to those of you who are our viewers, if you have show topics that you like for us to talk about, things that you would like for us to bring awareness on, please feel free to hit us up on all of our social media outlets. We are there. I am yours truly, Eliana Connie Abraham. I'm going to have to change my name on there, Jackie, because some people know me as Eliana, some people know me as Kai, so we need to put both names up. But I am yours truly, Eliana Connie. Thank you. Shout out to Jackie, to those of you who have continued to support us over the years. This is our 4th year. We want you to know that we don't take your support lightly, and we celebrate each and every one. To our cancer survivors, no matter what your cancer is, our caregivers, we celebrate you all, and thank you for giving us a whole almost hour and a half of your time, or 2 hours just being with us. But we celebrate each and every one of you. I thank the great God that we serve, that you all are here to give us your testimonies and to share your story with others. All of you look fantabulous. We serve a great God. I have to say that to have all of you here is just a blessing, a tremendous blessing. So until next time,
We want you to
see
join
once
us next
again.
week. Join us next week. We're going to be on Tuesday at 6 p.m. The election. We are going to be here with State Representative Derek Jackson. We don't know what poll he's going to be at, but we're going to be here from 6 to 7 to see what's going on as far as the election. So we want you guys to join us next week for that. And just remember, everybody, everything you heard and everything we said was what? Our point of view.
Point of view.
We'll see you next time. Thank you, Facebook.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, guys, we're off of Facebook Live. Thank you so much. You guys were amazing.
Thank you, everybody.
You
Love
guys
you,
were amazing.
Sheila.
Oh, thank you, Derek.
Amazing, amazing. We love you.
Sorry that we,
Thank you, Rob. Love you. Thank you for your stories and your testimony. We love all of y'all.
That was amazing.
Jack.
That was powerful, girl. Oh, wow. Connie, Derek. I'm thinking I'm going to go and scream and cry now.
Okay. Love you. I'm off to the
It was amazing. Thank you for having us.
Sheila, thank you so much for your story.
Thank you for joining and sharing your story, sweetheart. Even at the last minute, you came through, so I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, have a good night.
So I do anything for my mom.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Right.
Love you guys.
Thanks, Derek. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Sexy 205.